Hey, what's going on, everyone? Dan Wanis here with the Daily Fantasy Press. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I just got back from a quick 3-day weekend in Washington, D.C., saw some friends, got a tour around the city. The cherry blossoms were out, so that was pretty cool to see. Brandon, he's in Scottsdale, Arizona this week on vacation. He's enjoying some warm weather and some golf. So both of us this weekend did not get to watch as much golf as we typically like, but obviously not going to complain with being on vacation. In this podcast, we are going to take a look back at the Puerto Rico Open and our picks. Just go over the picks that we got right, which picks we got wrong, and then we're going to preview this week's event at the Shell Houston Open in Houston, Texas. The last event before the Masters. Obviously, we're real excited about that. We've been taking a look at the Masters ever since DraftKings brought their pricing out. So really going to be excited the week of the Masters. And we're going to have some special guests come on the podcast for that week and help us give us a preview. So let's get into recapping the Puerto Rico Open. So DA Points won the tournament. On Thursday, he holed out for eagle to finish 18. Things were just really going in his favor, and the rest of the weekend, he just put up solid rounds. So congratulations to DA Points on his third PGA Tour victory. Now let's move to the picks we got right. Peter Uihlein. This is a guy I'm going to really be heavy on the rest of the season. He's a really solid player, and not many people know about him yet, playing DFS. So I think in these tournaments going forward where you have a lot of the top 50 golfers in the world, those are going to be the weeks where you can really get Uihlein under-owned, and I'm going to own some shares. So he had a really solid Saturday and Sunday. Martin Flores, Brandon touched on him in the article and the Periscope last week. JT Poston, I spoke about him on the podcast last week. JJ Spawn, Cam Percy. We were curious to see how Cam Percy's back injury from Honda Classic was going to hold up. And obviously he had a great weekend. David Hearn, the Canadian, coming through after Graham Dillette failed to make the cut. Along with Graham Dillette, Graham McDowell missed the cut. Ian Poulter, both guys which we were way underexposed to them compared to the field. So even having Graham Dillette didn't hurt that much, since we pretty much just replaced Graham Dillette shares with Luke List, and he made the cut. So this week, that's that's all that you needed out of some of those guys. Brandon Hagee, just a disastrous hole on Thursday that put him out of any chance at coming back and making the cut. And then Scott Brown, we took the hard stance of fade him, which I don't want to be results oriented, but I guess we didn't look into enough at what other people were saying about him. We were under the impression he would be pretty highly owned with his course history and with his statistics not being in very good recent form. That was our reasoning for fading. So going forward, we will have to look closer at guys in that scenario. So let's take a look at the Shell Houston Open. It's played at the Golf Club of Houston in Texas. It's a par 72 and comes in at 7,457 yards. And Jim Herman is the defending champion. So we're going to take a dive into looking at the course and some of the key statistics. So once again, a lot of this is going to be much of what we were looking at last week at the Puerto Rico Open. Each of the par fives average under par. The par fours are the most difficult holes on the course, and these par fours have all different types of dog legs, both directions. Yardage varies drastically between these par fours. 9 of 18 holes have water along the holes or near the greens, and there's also a ton of greenside bunkers throughout this course. And something to note this week is a lot of the players that are already going to be playing in the Masters next week, this is typically a tune-up week for them. And historically, there have been players that have withdrawn. Adam Scott, a couple years ago, he withdrew. If players aren't happy with something in their swing, they're having rough first 2 rounds, you can see those early withdrawals, and these guys just take off early and go prepare for the Masters, for the big event. So that's something to monitor this week when selecting your players, and it might be a week that's definitely smart to reel back in your entry fees and use that on the following week with the Masters. So key statistics this week, once again, strokes gained, tee to green, birdie or better percentage. We're looking at that, especially par 4 scoring with those playing as the most difficult once again this week. I think proximity from 225 yards is also another statistic we want to be looking at this week. So it's majority the birdie or better percentage, par 4 scoring, par 5 scoring, and getting those guys that can really take down this event, that can score. Now moving on to weather for the week. Right now, and this is as of Monday evening, Thursday is looking partly sunny and breezy. If you take a look, I took out the wind trackers from online for where the event's held, just northeast of Houston, Texas. And luckily they're not, well, they'll be practicing Wednesday, but that is not an official round. Wind gusts are going to be approaching 30 miles per hour. Thursday, it's also going to be quite gusty, and something we normally don't see, especially with the Florida courses, are the winds are going to be higher in the morning than they are in the afternoon. So that will be something we want to monitor and could definitely play a part in selecting your core group of guys, because right now, Friday, the winds don't look too bad at all throughout the day Friday. So if Thursday morning's going to be the windiest part of the tournament, and possibly Saturday they could pick up again, but obviously you have no idea when the tee times are going to be on Saturday for which guys make the cut. So right now, I would highly encourage you guys to keep an eye on weather throughout the week. We'll be posting updates, and Thursday morning might be some of the gustiest winds of the tournament. So we might want to avoid some of the players in those pairings. Saturday, chance of afternoon thunderstorm, and then Sunday, periods of rain and thunderstorm. It's too far out, I would say, to even worry about that stuff for the weekend, but just something to note for you guys. Now let's move on to the players for DraftKings we like this week. As I said earlier, I think this might be a week for me where I avoid some. I love guys like Spieth, Adam Scott, but it's really tough the week before Masters. You don't know what these guys are trying to tune on this week before, and Phil Mickelson is a guy who has always played this event. So I see this event as just a routine of his to gear up for the Masters. He won this event in 2011. He's had a T4, T12, T13, T16, and 17th finish in the last 6 years. So his course history is awesome. Obviously, you can see he plays it every single year. Phil Mickelson is a guy that is not going to withdraw unless he cannot swing a golf club. His fan following is just too much, and he's a guy that's just he's going to play regardless of where his game is at. So that's where I really like Phil this week. His recent par 4 and 5 scoring is right where you want to be. Like I said, he loves the event to gear up for the Masters. And this course is something that I don't want to say resembles the Masters at all, because that's just a terrible comparison. But there are holes where you have to strategically place the ball for your approach or to have a shot at the green. And Phil is someone that's a master of that. So Phil Mickelson, I love him as a core play this week, especially if I'm going to go with more balanced lineups and avoid the stars and scrubs approach. Now, moving on to the second core player of the week, Rafa CabreraBello. He is priced at $7,900 on DraftKings. Just a great price for a guy of this caliber. Last year, he finished 4th at this event. And he's ranked 31st in greens and regulation and 2nd in the field in par 4 scoring, which are two very important metrics this week. He's got solid birdie or better percentage, and he has made 13 straight cuts dating back to last September. So his recent cut making abilities are just as solid as they come, and at that price, and ability for him to easily win this event, I really like Rafa this week as a part of the core players. Now, moving on to our course horse this week, Russell Henley. He's priced at $8,700, a guy that we've been talking about quite a bit week to week, and for good reason. He has a 4th, 5th, and 7th finish his last 3 years at Shell. So he's finished top 10 last 3 years. He's 20th in greens and regulation and also 20th in total strokes gained. His recent form is also very good. He finished T9 at Valspar and also had a solid finish at Honda. He had a solid first 3 rounds, and Sunday kind of got away from him. But I love his recent course history, his course history and recent form. So Russell Henley, he's a guy we're going to be going to in a lot of our lineups on DraftKings this week. Now, here is a Euro sleeper, Bernd Wiesberger. For those of you that play Euro DFS, you know of this guy. You've been playing him week to week. He comes in at 6,700. He ranks 3rd in the field in greens and regulation percentage. He's top 20 in par 4 and par 5 scoring, which I love this week at that price. Recorded 9 birdies in a row at Maybank on the Euro Tour just last month. So this guy is capable of scoring, and especially on DraftKings where you're getting the birdies. You want scores like this. And last year he played the Shell Houston and finished 27th in this event. So he's played here before, and at that price, I love Bernd as a sleeper this week. Moving on to our dark horse for DraftKings, JT Polson. We touted him last week. He played well last week in Puerto Rico. He checks all the boxes in driving distance, greens and regulations, putts per round, scrambling, and putts per round is what really stands out to me. He's been putting really well. These greens are, some people, they compare it to the Masters. It's nothing like it. These are much flatter greens, but I think it's a week where a guy that is putting really well can take advantage and really get some birdie and even possible eagle opportunities. He's got 3 top 20 finishes in his last 4 events, And just a note, he has not played Shell Houston Open before, so he's a rookie coming into this course. But with his recent form and the way he's been playing, I love JT on DraftKings. Now, we're going to look at two missed prices of the week that really stand out to me on FanDuel. The first, Patrick Cantlay. He's 5,700, and I believe he's almost 8,300 on DraftKings. So there is a very large disparity between DraftKings and FanDuel. And I do not see a reason why he should be priced this low. He finished runner-up at Valspar just a few weeks ago. He ranks first in the field for par 4 scoring, which we've been talking about is huge this week. He's a former Web.com Colombian champion. And the thing with Cantlay is, for you guys that watch Valspar, they talked about quite a bit. One of his good friends passed away, got hit by a car right in front of him crossing the street. And he obviously struggled with that for a while. He went through some injuries. So this guy has not played more than 7 events in a season since 2012. And it was great to see him finish second at Valspar. And you just feel for the guy that's gone through so much. And I really like him this week, that he looks like he's ready to come back and light up the tour at a young age. So Cantlay, like I said, just complete misprice on FanDuel. Moving on to the second guy that's coming in at a discount, former champion of the Shell Houston Open last year, Jim Herman, $5,000, almost minimum price on FanDuel. He ranks 18th in greens and regulation and 37th in strokes gained tee to green. So he's checking those boxes. He finished T3rd at Valspar, made the cut at Bay Hill, played well at both those events. And this is a guy for the FanDuel layout that is just perfect for the first 2 rounds. And even if he does miss the cut, you're going to get points for him. And at $5,000, if he makes the cut, just all the better for you. So Jim Herman, loved the discount on FanDuel, and being a former champion and playing well at this course in Houston. And once again, thank you guys that have given us the support. Recently, we have just been growing like we never thought we could ever imagine. So be sure to follow us on Twitter if you are not already, at Daily Fantasy Press. If you could subscribe, like these videos if you enjoy them on a week-to-week basis. And be sure to check out our article. It will be posting Tuesday morning, and we'll have additional picks to what we went over here in this podcast. So once again, thank you guys for following us, and good luck this weekend at the Shell Houston Open.